Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Legion Talk episode number 36. Now, what we're going to be taking a look at today is there's still chaos persisting in Afghanistan. Afghanistan is a major wreck right now. So, chaos, this is from the Washington Post. Chaos persists at Kabul Airport, imperiling Afghanistan evacuation effort. All right. From Kabul, a chaotic and dangerous dynamic at Kabul's airport showed few signs relenting Thursday as thousands of people attempting to board flights faced beatings by Taliban guards. But hey, they said they were going to be things were going to be different from the Taliban, correct? No, apparently not. The crush of heaving crowds and interminable spells in the dust and heat while waiting to escape Afghanistan. The daily mayhem at the airport, a fixture since the Taliban takeover Sunday, has stoked criticism that the Biden administration was slow to try to get Americans and their allies out, while underscoring fears about how the militants will rule the country. Several people said Thursday they had received confusing signals from the United States about how exactly they were supposed to leave, citing emails from the State Department urging them to go to the airport, only to find there were no one to receive them or to answer their questions on how to board flights. We arrived at 6 a.m., said a 39-year-old librarian, a dual U.S. Afghan citizen, excuse me, who came with his wife and two children after receiving an email invitation from the State Department. From 6 a.m. till 6 p.m., the gate did not open, and there's no person to address our concerns. At one point, he waited. The man who, like others, spoke on the condition of anonymity, because he feared a retribution. Said he was whipped by a Taliban fighter. The chaos at the airport came as Afghans marked their traditional Independence Day with small but determined groups of demonstrators waving the country's red, black, and green national flag as they marched through Kabul. Such protests have emerged as an early challenge to the Taliban, who fly their own white banner. Our flag, our identity, the march is chanted and videos posted online. As Azadabad and a provincial capital in the east, several people were killed during a rally Thursday. Reuters reported, quoting a witness. The agency said it was not clear whether the casualties resulted from firing by militants or a stampede. There you go. I got a little picture there for you. This is a growing big issue. I mean, this is a massive problem. The Taliban marked the day but which recognized the anniversary of the country's 1919 independence from Britain by gloating over having forced another arrogant power of the world, the United States, to fail and retreat from our holy territory of Afghanistan. Well, Taliban officials have made conciliatory gestures since the group took power. The promises of respect for press freedom and women's rights, as well as an assurance that they will not engage in retribution. There were fresh signs Thursday that they won't keep their word. Of course, they're not going to. The German broadcaster Deutsche Welle said a close relative of one of its journalists had been killed by Taliban fighters. The relative was shot as militants went house to house searching for the journalist in western Afghanistan, the news organization said. Such searches were also being conducted to track down former Afghan security officials and people who may have worked with U.S. or NATO forces, according to a confidential threat assessment prepared for the United Nations and seen by the Washington Post on Thursday. Taliban militants are going house to house, setting up checkpoints and threatening to arrest or kill relatives of collaborators in major cities, the assessment said. The document produced by the Norwegian Center for Global Analysis, a UN-linked intelligence support center, and dated Wednesday, describes an empowering Taliban eager to seek out and interrogate or punish those affiliated with the U.S.-backed government. The particular risk are people who are in the central positions in the military, police, and investigative units, according to the analysis, despite a Taliban pledge this week to grant amnesty to former officials. See, the thing is that when you're a terrorist group, it's really easy to say one thing and then completely do the other thing, because there's nobody in your organization is going to hold you accountable. And now, if you want to look, they're armed with wonderful U.S. weapons because we left them behind. That's a great job there, Joe Biden. Great job, Joey boy. We left the weapons behind. Why not? The fighters are using the West's focus on evacuating foreign nationals to search unrestrained for Afghan targets inside the cities, the document said. The group is also screening for individuals outside the Kabul airport, the report said. That peril explains why people have been so desperate to leave the country, with the Kabul airport serving as one of the only viable paths out. And it's the Kabul airport is the only place that the United States, from what I understand, controls. But would-be passengers and people involved in the evacuation efforts say a terrifying gauntlet awaits those trying to take the flights. One that has left people traumatized, dehydrated, and in some cases injured, either by Taliban fighters or U.S. soldiers. Figures provided by U.S. officials shows departures are gaining pace, but the evacuation is operating below its intended capacity, reflecting the difficulty for people of just making it to the planes. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby said the U.S. military could be evacuating 5,000 to 9,000 people per day from Afghanistan as soon as it has that many people approved each day for departure. But in the last 24-hour period, only slightly more than 2,000 people, including almost 300 Americans, made it out of Kabul safely, flying out on 12 C-17 aircrafts. Those are the aircrafts that you saw people dangling from. One man was even caught in the wheel while in a graphic image. You could see him flopping around. State Department spokesman Ned Price said Thursday the department has processed a group of 6,000 people who will soon board planes. Asked about people being prevented from reaching the airport, he said every report of someone unable for whatever reason to reach the airport is something we take very seriously. Kirby said Thursday that a deal reached with the Taliban to provide safe passage to American citizens and to the airport was working, but there were numerous reports to the contrary. This is a long article. One former U.S. official familiar with the issue said the Taliban appeared to be adjusting the location of its checkpoints outside the airport based on which gates the United States opens. Several people said gunfire was constant around the airport as Taliban fighters fired into the air to control crowds or in some cases shot at people. In one case Wednesday, a U.S. green card holder and her young children with U.S. citizenship and passports were injured in the chaos where they were denied entry at the airport. Two former U.S. officials said they were denied access for the second time hours later and are now back in hiding, said the former officials. Speaking on the condition of anonymity because of the sensitivity of the situation. Afghans arriving at the airport have also been turned away by U.S. troops, sometimes aggressively, said Sam Lerman, an Air Force veteran who served in Afghanistan and is attempting to help Afghans depart. He described one Afghan getting hit in the face by U.S. servicemen with the stock of a rifle. Go away, Joe. You've already made enough of a mess of things. An Afghan American who learned his U.S. citizenship years later of working with coalition forces in Afghanistan said he had gone to the airport twice this week in an attempt to leave the country with his family. He found chaos both times and no one willing or able to help. I know they're overwhelmed with a lot of people, but I couldn't go inside to talk to them, said the man, and added that he was afraid he would be spotted talking to Americans at the gate. They're searching for house to house and trying to find the people who were defense contractors or interpreters who worked for the coalition forces, he said of the Taliban. And if they don't find them, they're killing their families. A reporter who visited the airport around 5 a.m. Thursday saw only a few hundred people gathered there. 2 hours later, the crowds were starting to swell. By noon, there were thousands, said the librarian, who said they had been in Kabul for a little less than a month before the Taliban takeover visiting family. At one point, he said, the Taliban fighters started shooting into the air and the crowds thinned. Then the militants started beating people. The librarian's children started vomiting. Today's situation makes me feel the U.S. does not care about me and my children, he said. I feel the U.S. government left us alone. And that is the sentiment there from our wonderful president, Joe Biden. He has left the people. That is correct. Our withdrawal from Afghanistan was done so sloppily that we have left military vehicles, weapons, intel, all sorts of things behind that we should not have left behind. Because guess what? The Taliban are going to take that and they're going to go, cool, new stuff. Yeah, for the most part, they've been using old Soviet Russian AK-47s and garbage like that. I mean, well, the AK-47 is not really garbage. The thing will fire forever. It just leaving that kind of stuff behind for these horrendous people to find. is just absolutely criminal. And I think that I think Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are to blame, because Kamala Harris boasted that she was the last person to talk to the president, and she even boasted that she helped him make the decision to withdraw from Afghanistan. So their sloppy withdrawal is their fault. I think they need to both resign. They are by far the worst, one of the worst president and vice president duos in U.S. history. This is literally Saigon for the modern age. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll definitely see you guys.